My people, welcome back. Thank you for joining. Thank you for taking the time. If this is your first time, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much. So, we're talking about what is the Security Clarity Act, right? That Brad Gardenhouse was talking about in the last piece, the last video that I, Y&A just put up. More me, myself, and I. Anyway, CoinDesk. This article is coming from. I'm going down the list. I am going down the list. The first one on this list is the Security Clarity Act. What is it, and what is the importance of it in the crypto world? Anyway, so who's this article by Grant Golovs Golovsin? I think that's my best. That's my best. So the Securities Clarity Act is simple and logical and bad news for lawyers like this person, whoever this person is. The Securities Clarity Act deserves the crypto community's support because it's technology agnostic, limited in scope, and respects precedent. On September 24th, 2020, U.S. Representative Tom Emmer introduced a bill called the Security Clarity Act to provide a path to regulatory certainty for digital assets and other emerging technologies under securities law. Unlike previous attempts at crypto-friendly federal legislation, I believed, I said, so this is a quote. This is a quote. To provide a path to regulatory certainty for digital assets. I need to take a drink of water. My throat is dry. Let's do this again. So to provide a path, that sounds much better, to regulatory certainty for digital assets and other emerging technologies under securities law. Unlike previous attempts at crypto-friendly federal legislation, I believe the Securities Clarity Act deserves support from the crypto community at large. For the following reasons. The Securities Clarity Act does two things. It defines an investment contract asset as an asset, whether tangible or intangible, including assets in digital form, sold or otherwise transferred, or intended to be sold or otherwise transferred, pursuant to an investment contract, and that is not otherwise a security of the Security Act of 1933. I guess this is the 70-year-old Security Act that Ripple or Brad Gardner keep complaining about or keep talking about, that needs to be updated, need to be clarified. It includes the following language in all applicable legislation definitions of a security. The term security does not include an investment contract asset. That's it. That's the whole bill. The Securities Clarity Act is technology and asset agnostic. The Securities Clarity Act doesn't care if your digital assets is on Bitcoin network or Ethereum network or any other blockchain network. In fact, it doesn't even apply strictly to digital assets. Just as tracts of farmland with orange groves in SEC versus W.J. Howey Co., which gave us the Howey test, the default way to determine whether something is an investment contract weren't securities, unless they have special characteristics, and other assets sold or transferred pursuant to investment contracts would not be considered securities under the Securities Clarity Act. The Securities Clarity Act is not overly broad. Previously, federal legislative and regulatory blockchain initiatives, including the Token Taxonomy Act and the Token Safe Harbor have been far too broad, in my opinion, effectively carving out special expectations. Sorry, especially effectively carving out special exceptions for sales of digital assets that might otherwise be considered security transactions, and asserting that securities law don't apply because, well, blockchain. These efforts have been further complicated by relying on technical concepts like distributed ledger technology and decentralization as part of their framework. Even in our own industry, there is often a lot of confusion as to the correct meaning of decentralization. Do we really want federal judges and bureaucrats to tell us what it means? No, we don't. The Securities Act, the Securities Clarity Act doesn't change the application of the Howey test. Drink some water. Come back again. One of the greatest things about the Howey test, at least in my opinion, is its flexibility. The Securities the Securities Clarity Act doesn't change that. For example, even if Securities Clarity Act had been adopted in effect of all relevant times, the recent federal court ruling that KIK's token sale violated U.S. security law would not have come out any differently. The act does not try to address the token sales that were the subject of the case, just the status of the token themselves. That's crooked. That's my opinion. It's crooked. So although kin tokens would be considered investment contract asset under the act and therefore not securities, since kin tokens themselves do not have the features of stock, debt, or other types of enumerated securities in the Securities Act of 1933. Under the facts of the case, KIK told token buyers that kin capital would increase in value if KIK raised enough money from the sale of kin to build and launch the kin ecosystem. If that's not promoting an investment of money in a common enterprise with an expectation of profits from the efforts of others, then I don't know what is. Winners and losers. As with all federal legislation, there will be winners and losers in the Security Clarity Act if the Security Clarity Acts become law. First, cryptocurrency exchanges would be the biggest winners because their analysis of whether a given digital asset or is not a security would become much more straightforward. It would be does the digital asset itself separate from the manner in which it was sold, resemble any of the more traditional types of security listed in the Security Act? If not, then the digital asset will not be a security. But that's okay because crypto industry has been very good to me the past few years. If I lose some business because of the passage of this bill, I am in no position to complain. Quote. I don't know who says that. Unquote. Second, sellers of digital assets would also win because it would be easy to get tokens listed on exchanges. Although, as the example above shows, just because a seller's token aren't securities doesn't mean that the seller wasn't still offering investment contracts. And if those offers were made to the general public without registration or an available exemption, then those transactions would violate the Securities Act of 1933. And three, Because sellers of digital assets would have much easier time getting their tokens listed on exchanges. The biggest losers under the Securities Clarity Act would be lawyers, just as myself, such as this person who's writing. Sorry. Whose practice includes drafting opinion letters. Wow. My throat is so dry. I am dealing with extremely dry throats after reading. Man, I wasn't expecting this article to be so long. So, because sellers of digital assets would have much easier time getting their tokens listed on exchanges, the biggest losers under the Securities Clarity Act would be the lawyer who's writing this article, whose practice includes drafting opinion letters for token users who seek to have their tokens listed on exchanges. But that's okay, says the lawyer who writing this article, because the crypto industry have been very good to this person who's writing this article the past few years. If I lose some business because of the passage of this bill, I am in no position to complain. Following the legal one-two punch suffered by crypto over the past few weeks, well, past few years, the previous mentioned KIK decision and filing for federal charges against BitMix for attempting to evade U.S. regulations, our industry desperately needs clarity, and this bill, if adopted, would go a long way in achieving that. Wow. Wow, I really finished that reading. Oh, I am awesome. Man, that was a challenging reading. I haven't read like that in a long time. I actually had fun. I had some hiccups. Thank you guys for taking the time to, provide that energy. When you read, when you listen to me read, and when you participate, you give me a type of energy, that I just want to continue. It motivates me. So thank you guys. On my journey of becoming a master reader, I want to be able to read properly. You know what I'm saying? I was always a shy reader. Never listen. My parents made sure they schooled me when I was younger in spelling and pronunciation and all of these things I was very good at. But when it comes to the nerves, presenting presentation in college was not fun. It was very traumatic, you know. But yeah, I want to be able to master all these things, man. It's kind of like my list of things that I want to do in life. So one of them is reading properly. One of them is being comfortable, vocabulary wise, and that start with reading, right? And also having a confidence to read in front of people. And I think I obtain the confidence to fix up once I obtain, um, the proper uh, way of, once I developed my vocabulary to the point where I'm very confident and comfortable, then I'll be able to uh, uh, regulate or control the nerves when speaking in front of people. Sometimes there's just too much things going on in one's head when it comes to presenting, and just the least thing just make you slip, and then you start faltering and and then failing. So, with that said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful night. Good. Happy Hump Day. I don't even know what that means.